Hello everyone, I'm here to explain how to use Google Earth in a couple different ways in your classrooms and hopefully across the curriculum. If you don't know what Google Earth is, we have other tutorials that are more about Google Maps. Google Earth is kind of like a Google Maps that operates as a program on your laptop. So you actually have to download the program and open it. And it offers a bunch more functions besides Google Maps, besides the functions that Google Maps usually offers. If you want to know how to get it, just do a quick search for Google Earth download and download Google Earth, agree and download, and this will be the version for Mac. Okay, so I'm not going to go into details on that, but that's where you get it from. When you open it up, it looks like this. So Google Earth actually does have a model, three-dimensional model of the Earth, which you can zoom in on and see details. You can also have Google Earth overlay different kinds of data on the Earth. That data can be turned on or off down here at the bottom left. So I can turn on borders and labels, for example. I can turn on roads, 3D buildings, etc. If you find that your Google Earth is running kind of slow, it might actually be because you have a bunch of these turned on. I usually only keep borders and labels on unless I'm doing something else. So I'm using the mouse right now to zoom in and out. I can, in the upper right, also use these controls to navigate by turning the Earth and also by changing my view angle to the Earth. Okay, so those are things you can figure out. If you'd like to return to normal, you can double click the little N. It'll straighten up the Earth for you. You can also zoom in and out here on the right hand side. Okay, so generally when I use Google Earth, I have students collect things, or I collect things myself to be able to show to students. In the upper left hand part here, you can see there's a place called Places, and within there is where I can collect things that I keep on the Earth. When you do this in Google Maps, it sort of gets saved with the map itself. Inside Google Earth, the things sort of get saved here under My Places. So as an example of some things you can do with Google Earth, right across the top here, I'll do a couple of these, including image overlay. I'm not going to spend time going through every single function. If, for example, there was something I found that I wanted to mark, I can zoom in, for example, on the high school. And I can actually probably make a pretty good guess as to where I'm sitting right now. And I can hit this push pin tab, which is called a place mark. I can drag and drop this place mark anywhere I want as long as this window is open. If I hit OK, it's going to actually stick to the Earth. So I can obviously name this place mark. I can change lots of other things about it, like style and color and so forth. I can add an image and a description to it. And then when I hit OK, it sticks in the Earth. And if I click it and I grab it, I kind of grab the whole Earth. If I zoom out, I can always see my push pin. And if I double click it, Google Earth will fly me right down to it. Notice that my little Me pin also popped over here in My Places. It's sitting by itself. It's not really in a folder, but if I leave it there, it'll actually stay there anytime I open up Google Earth. If I wanted to take this and send it to someone as a file so that when they open Google Earth, they see a little pin called Me, I would actually just right-click this and hit Save Place As. That creates a file that I can then save. Just call it Me, and I can save it anywhere I want, and it becomes me.kmz. Then, if I were to email that file to somebody else who has Google Earth and they were to open it, it would open within Google Earth and it would show this little pin right there. And in fact, it would show any other work. If I wanted to put a whole bunch of stuff together in a file, I would create a folder over here. Okay, so here's an example of something I do with AP Human Geography students where I show them different ways that farming is done around the world. And as you can see, I've made a folder and I've filled it full of pins. And if I, in fact, close that folder, if I right-click that folder and save place as, I'm going to get a file that really is that whole folder full of all those pins. And then if I send the file to someone and they open it, they would see all these pins. If I click this, I'm now making those pins visible or invisible. I can do them individually, or I can do the whole folder at once. And if you see, if I zoom out here to kind of show you how big this is, you can see that my little pins are all over the place. Okay, so I'm showing students all kinds of different things by those pins. If I wanted to, I can play through each one of the pins by going to the folder and by clicking, sorry, it's not going to the folder. It's by going up and playing a tour. Here it is, sorry, they move that sometimes. If I hit this, it will play a tour of all those places in their order. And this will just kind of play by itself. Usually I do this stuff manually, but now we'll see it'll pop to somewhere else in a couple seconds. There we go. So that's the play tour function. And if I click and move it, I can actually stop the tour, okay, or save the tour. The point of the presentation was to show you how to do image overlays. So let me show you a couple things. So you know the pin part. Actually, I need to stop this tour to get out of this. The next button over here is for adding a polygon, which is actually clicking and dragging an area. The next one is for adding a path, which is actually just clicking and adding a path to the map. The final one is adding an image overlay. So this is really, really useful. In fact, you can take any image that you have as a file on your computer and overlay it on the Earth. The thing is that it may or may not be useful based on how you actually manipulate it. So if I just do something simple like go out to Google and just find, say, a picture of a kitten. There's a nice one. And I download that image. Okay, so save that link as, or save image as, sorry. I could copy it, but that's not going to work in Google Earth. In Google Earth, I actually need the image itself. I'm going to save the image just on my desktop. And then I'm going to pop back to Google Earth. And let's say I just want to put the kitten here on the Earth. I will go up to Add Image Overlay. I will then name it. Then browse for the file. There he is. And there it is. My beautiful kitty is on the Earth. As long as I leave this window open, I can manipulate the size of the image and the shape of the image. So if I grab a corner of this, I can squish it all different ways. If I want to keep the aspect ratio, that is, make it smaller by keeping the width and height the same, I want to hold the Shift button when I do that. So I'm going to hold Shift and then do this, and you can see how it keeps the aspect ratio the same. If I want to rotate, I'm going to grab that little diamond. And then, of course, if I want to squish, I can do this. If I want to move, I can grab it here in the center and put it anywhere I want to. Okay, and of course, if I hit OK, that sticks. So now my little kitten's on the Earth. Okay, so that's an image overlay. Notice that the overlay also got popped into my folder over here. Okay, so it can be saved over here on the side. Here's the kitten right here. Okay. But that may not be completely useful because it doesn't match up with anything underneath on the Earth itself. So why don't we do this? Why don't I find a map and show you how to put a map on the Earth? So now I'll go here and this time I'll just search Pennsylvania map. Get some regular old Pennsylvania map. I'll do the same thing. I'll save that image on my desktop. go out here to Google Earth, add image overlay, browse for the file, and there it is. Now, the problem is, as you can probably tell, is I'm trying to put this flat map on a round Earth, and it's not exactly the right size and perhaps not the right shape. So what's very useful in this case is to make it more transparent. So you can see there's a slider here where I can turn down or up the opacity. And I'm going to turn it down so I can still see the edge of Pennsylvania, but I can still see through. And then I'm just going to leave this over to the side because I need that open. And I'm going to try to match up Pennsylvania a little better than it actually is. So you can probably tell that I can use my shift now to bring the size down at least a little bit, and then to try to align it a little bit better. Doesn't always work perfectly, but you can get it close. Now, a geographer would know, like in my AP Human Geography class, the problem here is that the two maps were done with a different projection. So they're not matching up perfectly, as you can see. But you can get close. And if, for example, I got close enough that I was happy with it, I can then go back here and turn the opacity back up. I can hit OK. And then if I were sort of showing students, or students were showing me, something about Pennsylvania, they could turn it off, kind of show me what they want to show, and then say, well, here are the counties of Pennsylvania, and use that for something else. Zoom in and out just as they did before. Generally, when you overlay maps, the closer you get to the Earth, or the smaller area you try to match up, the better that map will actually match up to the area. So matching something like Pennsylvania is kind of big. And notice that my map is over here to the left-hand side. So that's about all I want to show you now. Make sure that you hit the reflection link in the at the bottom of the Canvas page so that you can respond to the reflection. Thanks very much.